Coach, go back in. Okay?
Okay.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, well-known radio sports personality, Bruce McGowan.
Hello there.
Okay. Today's show is going to be really special because our guest is Kim Juarez. We've had her on before, you remember. Sports nutritionist. She's got a bachelor's and a master's in nutrition, specializing in sports nutrition, of course, because that's what we got today. Weight loss and healthy eating.
That's right.
We're also going to ask some trivia questions at each commercial break. And what we're going to do is give away 3 vacations, all right?
Nice.
And the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina. And the vacations are free. The only request is a $75 cleaning fee to cover those housekeeping expenses. And today's trivia theme is going to be fun. NBA game-winning shots. All right? So we're going to have fun with that. A couple other things we're going to try to cover after Kim here is the Falcons. I don't know if you read that about piping in noise.
Oh, yeah.
Just like... that's their 12th man.
We have a lot of problems with the NBA with noise, that's piped in, but the NFL now is joining the crew.
So, and with the NFL, generally you have outdoor stadiums.
You don't need to do it.
In the NBA, I mean, it's indoor.
Yeah.
Boy, you could really affect.
But you don't need to prompt 70,000 people to make a lot of noise because
it's already really noisy in this place.
It is. Yeah,
exactly. And I don't know if you read also the San Francisco Giants want to travel in more comfort as they chase another championship. The general manager, Brian Sabian, says the team is going to be entering into a new lease agreement with a private air carrier.
Now, the good thing is I travel with the Giants. What they're going to do is they're just going to make fewer seats so it's more comfortable so you'll have more legroom. Basically, that's because they've been traveling privately in the sense that they travel with the company, but that company contracts with them. Now they've got their own plane, their own pilot, everything. So it's all private.
And if there's
Sounds nice.
NBA players, then you only get 3 seats on the plane.
You want to travel with an NBA team sometime. That is really comfortable. I've done it a couple times. It's great. It's a blast.
I can imagine. Okay. Stay tuned because you're listening to Sports Econ 101 with Bruce McGowan and Edward Brown. And when we come back, Kim Juarez is going to teach us about nutrition. All right.
Alrighty.
That's our first one.
How do you know when to take you have a timer?
I've got a little timer here, yeah.
This time I'm interested in behind the scenes.
Last
time I was like, how does he know when to do all that stuff?
What's great is that with this new 21st century technology, just being able to record the whole thing on the internet. It's so easy. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, so I send the 5 segments to Sports Byline, and then they add the commercials, music, and all that fun stuff. And then we get a complete show. And then if you go to the Sports Econ 101 website, you can see this video as well as listen to the actual show.
Yeah, I did that last time.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
Nice job.
And last time I was completely unaware that this was going.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh.
Be careful.
Exactly.
Don't make too many funny faces.
Yeah, right. So, Edward, just, I threw out a variety of topics.
Yeah,
you can pick
they're great.
what you like.
This all sounds interesting. Oh, really?
Well, yeah, we'll let you take it away. Just can educate us on that. I think it'd be very interesting, actually.
Well, isn't this weather the best dog? I'm not complaining after all the rain.
It's nice. Very nice.
It's the worst weather back east that they've had since
Boston.
1978.
Yeah.
Okay, crazy. Okay. So we'll get right into it. I'll just throw one of these questions at you, and then we're going to throw, and then you can just expand. Have fun.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. And let's see here. In our studio, we are blessed to have Kim Juarez again with us. Since we had her on last time, I gained about 5 pounds, so that's my fault.
You weren't listening to my
advice. Exactly. Actually, I did lose some, but then I gained a little bit.
Well, you did have a birthday, if I remember
correctly. That's true.
So you were celebrating for a while.
Thank you. That's my excuse.
And we're still not that far away from the holidays either, are we? It's
and
now it's Valentine's Day.
Oh,
that's my excuse.
That's this weekend. It's coming up.
Come on.
So that's the thing.
See, I just did you a favor.
Every time you turn around, okay, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Now, my birthday happens to be in January, so that's I get that excuse.
Yeah.
February, you get all the chocolate with the,
Valentine's.
then I guess what
Easter.
you get all the bunnies with all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Then 4th of July, there's parties. And,
Yeah.
I mean,
It goes on and
goes
on
Goes
and
on and on. It's the cycle of life.
Okay, so the first thing we want to talk about is carbohydrates are fattening. Is that a myth or is that the truth?
That is a myth.
Really?
Yes, it is. Carbohydrates have gotten a bad rap, especially in these last 10 years,
Love
I'd
this
say. Because when the Atkins diet became popular, people were switching over to high-protein foods and high-fat foods, dropping the carbohydrates. You will lose weight quickly, but you can't sustain it. Yeah, you run out of energy. Carbohydrates are our number one fuel source. They fuel our brain. They fuel our muscles.
I was going to say, relating to that, I was up on Mount Tam, which is a coastal mountain here in the Bay Area earlier today, and I took a big sack of nuts. Sounds like
Okay,
but,
we're in mixed company.
That's right. Sorry about that. I mean, different
Yes.
types of nuts.
Yes.
Pumpkin seeds
Sure.
and
Sunflower seeds.
almonds,
Good,
cashews,
yeah.
and so I took
Healthy.
I took this and an apple and some water, and I thought, this is pretty much going to take care of me. Is that a good thing if you're going to go for say 2 hours and do a good workout? Is that a good thing to have handy?
Good question. Nuts are good because they do have protein and healthy fat, so I'm glad you had those along. They will sustain you, but they're not the best for quick energy.
Okay.
You could mix in some dried fruit with that.
And I did. I
Oh,
actually
good.
put in some little chocolate
Yes,
drops too.
good.
Okay.
You can have a little chocolate too. That's
Okay.
heart healthy as
Yeah.
well.
Oh,
Dark,
it's like-
dark chocolate.
Yes.
It's like trail mix then.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. You got to watch the trail mix because the calories and with nuts. The calories add up really quickly, and some of those trail mixes have other things added in like M&Ms and
yeah.
more chocolate.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
and it goes on and on.
But the M&Ms are so good.
I
I know. Especially after 2 hours on the trail.
Yes.
Yeah, but even like the little cranberry things they have.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love that.
I mean,
Yeah.
that stuff is really good.
It's
But
good stuff.
Gosh darn
It's
it! I mean, I look at it. I you buy like let's say from Costco, you get the big old thing, right? And you look and you say, wow, this is going to be really healthy. And then you realize that if you have just like a
The
small
smallest
handful,
amount.
I mean,
A
right
quarter
there, it's like,
cup
yeah,
is
with
about, which is
couple
about a
hundred
handful,
calories,
especially
right?
if you have big hands.
Yeah.
It's about 140 to 160 calories.
and it's so easy.
So easy
Yeah.
to shovel.
Yeah,
it
to
in.
shovel, exactly.
Yeah, tell me, but I'm a big guy. I'm 6'6", about 220, and I have even today, I have a fairly high metabolism, so I can put away a lot of
So you
but
can shovel a little
I
bit more.
can shovel a little bit more. My buddy always says, shovel it in, Bruce, just shovel it in. But what I'm saying is that, if I don't have that by the end of the 2 or 3 miles into the hike, I'm getting a little,
You do need to refuel,
little ragged,
especially if you're
yeah.
out there longer.
Yeah.
Back to the carbohydrates. I don't want people eating white bread, white pastas, white rice, sugary candy all day long. But the carbs that you'd like to shoot for are the whole grains, the whole wheat breads, the brown rices, the quinoa, the sweet potatoes. Healthy grains.
Interesting. You mentioned about like white bread and stuff like that because I was watching this video that it wasn't on nutrition. It was actually completely different, but it was basically a biblical type thing, like a bot. And then the guy gets into it. He says, there's a reason why it says, God says, give it, or the prayer, give us this day our daily bread. Bread was supposed to only last for a day, but it's not profitable. And so they put all this junk in it, put it on the shelves, so it lasts 100 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what really destroys, because apparently bread is supposed to be good for your brain, apparently.
All grains,
Yeah.
not just bread, but again, it's the carbohydrates. It fuels our brain. And people that try to cut them way out or way down just can't last very long on that type of diet.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting too. This guy happened to be, and again, he's a science teacher, but he kind of got into this stuff. And there's this area near the Himalayas where the average age was 90. And some of these guys are living to like 160, which is ridiculous.
What?
And what they eat is apricot seeds. You take the pit, you open it up, and then they'd also put on their skin to not get wrinkles. But the funny thing is apparently and I may be mistaken on this one, but I think he said there was like cyanide in it.
Wow.
But it's
a little bit.
Trace
a little
amounts,
bit,
yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
also the thing is it's the combination of things that can either be helpful or bad. So like
Very
as an
true.
example, okay, sodium generally is not really the best, right?
Right,
And
but we need it because it makes our heart work.
True, yeah, exactly. But just sodium is, in general maybe isn't
Yes.
the best. And then chlorine is not good. Chloride is not good. But you put them together and you get salt.
Right.
which isn't bad.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you have to consider people's lifestyles. Living in the Himalayas, they're not sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah.
They're moving around, eating foods that are grown right there.
Breathing
not
healthy
processed.
air.
Yes, breathing healthy air.
What I thought was really kind of funny was he said, okay, the other example this guy gave was he says, imagine there's a fire. Now, would you want to throw hydrogen on that fire? Probably not.
No.
And what happens if you throw oxygen? I mean, it spreads, right?
Yeah.
But what do firemen use to put out a fire? A combination of the
Right,
oxygen and nitrogen,
right.
right?
Wow, yeah.
So it all depends. So this thing with the cyanide really is not, you know,
Right.
you look at, cyanide is
And
dangerous.
nutrition is just like that. The science of nutrition is about the balance. People tend to focus on just one thing, just carbohydrates or just this vitamin, but it's a combination, and we like them in their natural form, not out of a bottle.
Well, that's what I heard also about, like, a hamburger's okay, a shake is okay, but don't have a hamburger and shake together.
Really?
It's something to do with again, maybe a little.
You can. Just
can.
don't do it all the time. Would be
Yeah.
my message.
But what is the deal about which are bad combinations? Like fat and protein, or you know what I mean?
The science of it, it does not matter. That's something where someone took a little bit of fact maybe and turned it into a bigger myth and sold people on it,
Okay.
which happens a lot in the nutrition industry. So
Don't you think, too, that we Americans were so conscious about how we look and how we feel that we're going to be almost, I hate to say neurotic about this sometimes. I mean, I imagine that is a problem because people overreact. It's, oh my God, I can't have that. That's,
The diet stress.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Oh,
yeah.
And then they fall off the wagon and they go crazy having it.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I had an old roommate who was going on this, they call it a health kick, right?
Yes.
And I'd come home and I'd smell it smelled awful because he was, making lettuce juice and celery juice. That stuff is disgusting.
It's good for you, though.
It's a good flavor. There's all this green.
How long did it last?
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, one time I came home. This was before I even, I was in my early 20s, so it didn't matter what I ate, right? And I used to love, Chips Ahoy cookies, like the big bag full, right? And I remember coming home from work going, this is going to taste really good. I'm ready to. And I look, and all the cookies. I mean, the bag's gone.
Oh.
And I look, and he's sitting on the couch. And I say, "Hey, where are my cookies?" And he looked like he was going to lose his cookies. He ate the whole bag.
Oh my God, he fell off the wagon.
He fell off the
major
wagon big
binge,
time.
yeah.
Major
Oh
binge,
my God.
exactly.
Wow.
See, it just goes to show you cannot live without certain food groups.
Yeah.
It's
Like
a
cookies.
little too easy to do that.
How
Okay.
about sports drinks now? Before I know we got to move on here, but I'm curious because when
Sports drinks on there.
sports drinks,
Yeah.
I just took water with me up to the mountain today. Is that-
Okay, let's save that
Yeah,
because
okay.
I want to talk about those little ones. We won't give any
Yeah.
specific names, but I want to
The energy boost.
Okay.
There you go. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
energy
Very
boost.
good,
Okay.
yes.
So a quick little thing here. The San Jose McInerney, is that how you pronounce it? McInerney?
Oh, McHenry.
McHenry.
Yes.
But the way they spell it is a little different.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
the convention center is ready to rumble with the WWE Access coming to the convention center March 26th to 29th. So check them out at Ticketmaster.com.
I'm not a big WWE fan, but it's
It's got to be interesting.
It's interesting. It's like going to the theater.
Okay.
It really is.
Really?
These
Oh,
guys
yeah.
they rehearse a lot of the moves. Now they're athletic and they're knocking each other around, but they're also pulling the punches too.
Okay.
Yeah, and they
so
put on a show.
They do.
They sure do, and they're very talented.
Yeah.
Okay. The theme is NBA famous game-winning shots. 1989 NBA playoffs, Game 5 between the Chicago Bulls and Cleveland Cavaliers. Michael Jordan made what came to be known as the shot. The Bulls were trailing by 1 point and had the ball with 3 seconds to go. The inbound pass went to Jordan, who made a shot over a Cavalier to clinch the game and the series. Who was the person that Jordan took the shot over to win the game?
Boy, I remember that
All right.
play, but I don't remember the defender.
Okay,
So,
stay with us.
I'm not going to have an answer.
Stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back.
That is a famous moment.
All right.
Jim Durham, the announcer, went absolutely nuts. A really nice man. I got to know him pretty well. He used to work on the national broadcast and would come out whenever they would have a big game out in the West Coast. And he must have been doing that for like 20 years. Great
Wow.
job, yeah. Just network radio,
Yeah,
and the Bulls on the side. So he'd do both.
Nice.
Yeah, and the Bulls were like 6-time champions. So you can imagine how much fun that must have been. Wow.
Very fun.
I went and visited my mom today. She's hanging in there, but boy,
Where is she?
she's at the Redwoods, which is a
Oh, she
great,
is?
yeah, it's
Right
a
by
great
the
spot.
house?
Yeah, that's a great spot.
It is a great. How old is she?
She's almost 92. Yeah.
Oh, you have great genes.
Yeah, my dad died when he was 93.
Oh.
So I get the feeling she's going to be around another year or two, but boy, it's kind of sad. But
Does she have an ailment or just old?
No, just old. She's got colitis. That's bad.
Oh.
But it's sporadic.
manageable,
Yeah, she has problems with it. But 92.
I know.
Yeah.
My grandfather just died at 98. And
Wow. 98.
Between about 95 and 98, he got old. Prior to that, he was
Wow.
just...
Really, up until 95, huh?
And he lived on his own and everything, yeah.
That's
I know.
great. See, my dad was really good until he was about 85, then he got cancer.
Oh.
But they zapped the cancer, but the treatment really slowed him down. So he lived another 8 years, but
Oh, well, that's good.
yeah, 85 to 93. Yeah. He didn't have a cancer problem after that, but
That's
it's
right.
just old age problem.
Yeah, other things.
Yeah, other things, yeah.
He got a lot of life.
Yeah, he did. He got 8 more years, which is good for him.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. I
Pleasure.
said that so fast, I don't know if anyone ever heard me. I'm Edward Brown, your host. Okay.
But we always like to talk business. Because we're always pressed for time. Get in those commercials. Come on.
Exactly.
Come on. Light, tight, and bright.
Well, because, Armed Forces Radio, they have these certain hard breaks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, because we're worldwide. Famous NBA game-winning shots. Okay,
Yes.
that was our theme. It's a very long question. I'm going to read it one more time. 1989 NBA playoffs, Game 5 between the Chicago Bulls and Cleveland Cavaliers. Michael Jordan made what came to be known as the shot. The Bulls were trailing by 1 point, and he had the ball with 3 seconds to go. Inbound pass goes to Jordan. He makes a shot over a Cavalier to clinch the game and the series. Who was the person that Jordan took the shot over to win the game?
And I'm going to make a weird, wild guess. I'm going to say Brad Doherty, but he's a big guy that played on that team, but I don't think it was Doherty.
Craig Elo.
Oh, Craig Elo, he's a Caucasian guy, probably about 26, good backup player, and he was a good shooter. Yeah, terrific.
All right, so we have Kim Juarez here, sports nutritionist. Kim, go over to, because today we're actually talking about myths with regard to nutrition. You must eat meat to get enough protein. Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Look, when we cut before the break.
I like that when you said that,
Yeah.
though. I wanted to, I'm not a big meat eater, but it makes me feel a little less guilty.
Yeah, because it is a myth. So wait, before we get into that myth, before we cut to the break, we did say we were going to ask about energy drinks.
About sport drinks
Oh, yes.
and energy.
Shots.
Yes.
What about Gatorade, for instance? That's the most famous one. Does that have any food value at all?
No food value whatsoever.
Wow.
It's got sugar,
Yeah.
which sometimes we need, like you were saying, out on your long hike,
Yeah.
and food coloring and water.
But the NFL players, it's amazing. I think they have other sports drinks, but traditionally, football players have used that drink.
Right, since 1965, I think, is when
Yeah.
Gatorade was
Yeah.
developed
I
for
remember.
football players.
Yeah.
Or the Florida Gators.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And in extreme conditions such as that, where you're practicing all day outside, especially in Florida, you're big guys, you're sweating a lot, a sport drink has a place. For the rest of us that are not, we live in Marin here, we have this nice climate, mild
Yeah.
climate.
Yeah.
There is really no room for Gatorade or any sport drink. I tell kids that all the time because they like to walk around with giant jugs of Gatorade.
Yeah.
But there's
And
no
it's
need,
just
no
sugar.
need, right?
No need,
Yeah.
Okay,
really.
but it's hard to drink just water. In fact, I even have my little. Now this is not a sports drink,
noticing
but yeah, I'll show you what I got. It's one of those multi-level
Gives you a little
things.
zing there,
Yeah, it does.
Right, and
it's
it encourages you to drink more, which is what we
Yeah.
tell people. If it's going to encourage you to drink a little bit more fluid throughout your day, then add some fresh fruit to your water, add
vodka,
powder.
Vodka.
Vodka.
That'll help me
That'll
drink
encourage
more.
a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly.
Kim, here's a question I have for you relating to this. When I go into the radio station to work in San Francisco, it's an enclosed, hermetically sealed environment. It's like being in a giant airliner. I call it a giant petri dish because everybody's coughing.
Oh, yeah.
But I drink water. I drink probably during the 5-6 hours I'm there. I probably drink about 2 quarts of water. Is that a good idea to do that, or does it matter when you drink it, or I just do it, to kind of flush myself to make
Wait a
myself.
minute. Do you do half of the show from the restroom? That's a
Well,
lot.
no, it's not a problem though, really, because I'm just doing the updates, so every half hour.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a
Yeah.
problem. But is that a good idea?
It's a fine idea.
Yeah.
I like people to space it out throughout the day. I wouldn't say go in and drink 2 quarts or 2 liters all at
Yeah.
once, or at bedtime, because then you'll be up all night.
Yeah.
But frequently throughout the day, and I often tell people first thing in the morning, because we all wake up dehydrated.
Yeah.
So before you even have your first cup of coffee or tea, drink a glass of water and just start your day hydrating. In a hermetically sealed building, as you said, it is like a petri dish, but they're pumping in all that dry air. So it's good to stay hydrated. And you talk, so you need to keep your mucous membranes moist.
You know, I should have brought this in. The piece of paper that talked about, like, if you have a decent amount, a couple glasses of water in the morning, it's good for, let's say, your organs, and then if you do it at night, it's good for your heart. And, I mean, there were specific things like time.
I don't think you can break it down into timing.
Like that, okay.
Really, just looking at the science. Just drink a lot of water and do it regularly. And other things count as water: coffee, tea.
Yeah, but coffee is diuretic.
You know what? They've since changed that.
Really?
Because what do we make coffee with? Water.
Yeah.
So that water counts. The diuretic piece of it, you will not pee.
You can say that.
You will not pee.
You will not go wee-wee.
Urinate.
Yeah, there you go. No, that you can't say. Go ahead.
Basically, you will go the same amount. You'll just go sooner. So in a 24-hour period, you'll have the same amount of urine produced. It'll come out sooner.
It sounds funny to say. It's part of the human body, for crying out loud. If you're out there exercising, I go in the water and I surf, but I'm not drinking the water. I'm not getting any refreshment during that 2 hours I'm in there. And I get really thirsty, believe it or not, even though I'm in cold
salt water.
About 55. You're right. Sometimes, actually, I will take a little swish in my mouth and swallow it. Yeah, I will.
And people forget that. We have that problem with swimmers, too. They forget they get dehydrated when they're in the water. Because you're in water. And skiing, right, especially at higher altitudes.
Oh, yeah.
So we do have to remind, especially younger swimmers, to have their water bottle on the side.
But if you drink too much salt water, though, doesn't that make you kind of crazy?
Yeah, it can really disrupt your internal
not a good idea.
mechanism. You don't want to do that, and you probably throw up before anything else.
Okay, so going to this here, eating meat to get enough protein.
Yes.
All right.
Myth. Right.
Okay.
So the first thing I tell people when they start asking about that is think about these giant animals, gorillas, elephants. What do they eat all day long?
Fruits and vegetables.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Fruits and vegetables.
They do not touch meat. They don't eat meat. So we do not need to have meat to get enough protein. That's an American myth. We can get it from nuts, beans, seeds, lentils, grains, greens. So you can see that if your diet is balanced and varied, you can get protein from so many other sources.
But what about this paleo diet I hear about? Now, tell us a little bit about that, because Hunter Pence, who played with the Giants, was on that for a while. He swore by it, and the guy didn't look like he had an ounce of fat on him. I mean, was that a good thing or bad? He's a young guy.
He's also a young guy, and he gets paid to work out all day long.
That's true.
So he could probably be on any diet and not have an ounce of fat. The paleo I worry about, it's high in saturated fat, and if people aren't doing it correctly, they're not getting enough grain, enough
Is it
vegetables.
It's basically a
Yeah, it's
caveman diet?
caveman.
Okay,
They all
like
have the
lots
same
of
name.
meat.
Lots of meat, lots of vegetables, a little bit of fruit, and some of them are very strict with no grain, and some allow a little bit of grain. But it's not a diet I recommend to people, and if people tell me they would like to try it, I say do it for a very short amount of time.
I'm telling you, I could be very rich if I can just figure out how to publish a book that says eat donuts and ice cream all day long. And
People have done it. There's something called the cookie diet.
Seriously?
I mean, if you look up any type of diet that you're thinking about to put in your book, it's been done.
Seriously?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the minute you say a movie star has done it, it sells you.
Of course.
So hold on. Tell me more about this cookie diet. As I get hungry here.
That'll be our Christmas show.
Yeah.
Sounds like something my daughter would. She's,
cookies.
oh my gosh, we go after school. She wants. Can we go to? I won't say the name of it. The convenience store to get a. I want to get a Slurpee and I want to get. No.
You just said it right there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
Yeah. Well, that's
Once in a while I give in. Once in a while I give in. Though I have to say.
I do too, and I often give in to ice cream because there are some redeeming qualities there. You've
Yeah.
got some calcium,
there you
a little
go.
bit of protein.
Yeah.
It's not just straight sugar.
Okay, so how about this myth? Supplements can help put on muscle mass.
This is such a good question because the supplement industry, I made some notes about it because they're numbers that just shock me. The supplement industry is now a $11.5 billion industry. They expect it to be up towards $15 billion in just a couple more years. In 1994, Congress passed an act that allowed supplements to be sold without the okay of from the FDA. Which means we are buying things at every store that promise lots of things and nothing's been tested or sold and there's no science to back it up. So I really, really worry about supplements.
Now, some of them do have clinical trials, right?
You have to look hard
Okay,
at the
all right,
background
fair enough.
and those research papers done. You have to see who's sponsoring them.
I mean, I gotta say that I do take some protein packet stuff, and I've been working out, and I definitely, I mean, I'm gaining a little bit too much weight, but I definitely have, well, I think I've gained muscle mass that I didn't have before, and you know how it is as you get older.
But you've been working out harder.
Not, you know, honestly, it seems like I've worked out about as hard, but I feel like I'm actually stronger now than I was 10 years ago, and I'm 55 now. Scary.
Yeah, there's a lot of, that's a scary number, but there are a lot of things that come into play.
Okay.
We don't know what else, you know, I'd have to break down your whole lifestyle
that's
to
true.
look at that, but you cannot put muscle on from a powder, from a pill. Muscle requires work and enough calories, and the calories should still come from a carbohydrate source.
Okay.
So again, a higher amount of
I'll
carbohydrates.
have to show you this packet.
Moderate
I've got
protein.
one packet right here. I'm going to show it to you, and I want you to just take a look at it.
I will look at it.
It sounds like a kind of a modified version of steroids. I hate to say because
It
steroids.
It is. They all fall
Yeah.
into that same.
Yeah.
That
I
same
mean, and
category.
not that steroids are terrible for you, but I mean the guys in the Major League Baseball, they were probably about 90% at one point
Mhm.
doing it to some degree, and many of the superstars, of course, we know.
Well, this one says something about HGH. Does that help? just kidding.
Yeah, just kidding. I just want to warn people, you know, if you walk into GNC or any of those big supplement companies, it's a business.
Yeah.
They're there to sell you a claim
Yeah.
and a magic pill. And I tell
Yeah.
people, if these magic pills all worked as they said they did, none of us would have a weight problem or heart
True.
disease. And
Well,
we'd
no,
all
you
be
do have to
buffed.
work. That's why even if you take steroids, if you don't exercise and lift
Yeah.
weights, you're
Yes.
not going to put on the big muscle mass.
Right.
No.
That part I know.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're talking here. Going to cut to our second commercial break. Excuse me. We're talking about NBA game-winning shots. The Indiana Pacers and Orlando Magic faced off in the 1995 Eastern Conference Finals. After the Magic made a three-point shot that left 1.3 seconds on the clock, the Pacers called a timeout. After the timeout, they had the ball at half court. What Pacer received the ball and made a jump shot from the top of the charity strike, as they call it, to win the game? You remember this one? You'll know the player.
Vaguely.
Okay.
Those Indiana and Orlando, you know, they've had their moments, but they've basically been kind of obscure teams.
Obscure, yeah. I'll give you a hint. It wasn't Reggie Miller.
Okay.
Okay, stay with us. I have to figure.
I was going to say Reggie Miller.
No, that's why I figured I'd give you. But you have heard of this guy. Okay.
Okay.
Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
You got me on that one.
Gotcha on that
But,
one?
well, the thing is, in the 90s, I didn't follow the NBA as much as I used to because the Warriors were so bad.
Oh, yeah.
And I was following a lot of college football, basketball. I mean, I followed it, but I just didn't pay as close attention. You always, in sports, it's like anything else. You follow the hot teams, and here in the Bay Area, we've always had pretty good football teams, really good baseball teams, but the basketball up until these days has been kind of so, you know, with that in mind, you don't pay attention to all the other teams as much as you should.
Right. And
No.
it's hard. You can't pay attention to all of them.
Yeah.
How do people win these? So that goes on air and
Yeah, then they can
people
email.
call
They
in?
email.
Oh.
They
And do
email. Yeah, we used to get more. I used to have a phone number.
I'm
I got
wondering,
rid of the
though,
phone number and I did that.
most of these listeners are on the other side of the country.
Yeah,
You're
so
not going to come out here,
They're
are
not
you?
going to come out here. So
Yeah.
it's just more kind of fun. For
Yeah.
us.
yeah, it is.
I think it's
Does the Lighthouse actually have people come to visit, though?
Yeah.
They
and
have?
mostly on the. It's funny on the business show.
Yeah.
We get. There was a time I was getting 45 phone calls,
Wow.
and it was just ridiculous. So I literally had to make the questions hard.
Yeah.
It was, I had to keep answering. For this show, I was getting
Thank
a lot of
goodness for
calls
email.
from Vegas and
Oh, yeah.
of course, and New York.
Well, basically, at least Vegas, you know, if they live in Vegas, they can come up to go to the Lighthouse.
Yeah.
A little break in the action there.
So it's more just a kind of
Yeah.
you know,
That's fun.
keep
I won
people interested.
a weekend at a bed and breakfast in upstate New York.
Oh,
once. But
sweet.
I'm
Yeah.
never going to get there.
Yeah,
I gave it.
and-
My cousin was going to college. I gave it to her. She
Nice.
said,
There you
"No."
go. Excellent.
Yeah.
Upstate New York is pretty, though.
Yeah, I think
Boy.
she had a good time.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I get one quick story. It's really funny. When I was first doing this, and I was on doing a co-host for on KMDR.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Saturday morning show, and I was kind of like thinking, oh, let me invent this stuff, right? So I asked like a really hard baseball question, and the idea was I was trying to get people to go to Lighthouse and try to help them out and all that. Well, I asked such a hard question. We had at that time it was live, so people would call in, and we had literally maybe 3 people call, and they were way off.
Oh.
So then I realized, Edward, stupid, you're doing the exact opposite of what you should be doing.
That's
You got to make it easier because you want to
Wanna
help
encourage
Yeah,
people.
encourage it, right?
Yeah.
So the next week,
Made it too easy, huh?
I said, okay, so last week we asked a 2-part question. This one's going to be a little easier. The Super Bowl III, Jets versus Colts. Who was the quarterback for the Jets? And I'm going to give you a hint. His name rhymes with Glow Baineth. And suddenly, the guys at Kim Juarez, they laughed. They were killing me, right? Because it's like it's things.
Oh my God.
Of course.
That is funny.
I was laughing so hard I was crying.
So you had to correct.
I
next
had
week.
to kind of make it a little harder after that. Okay, good. Okay, we got some good stuff to cover here. All right. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown and Bruce McGowan here are your hosts. When we got to the second commercial break, we asked this trivia question. The Indiana Pacers and Orlando Magic faced off in the 1995 Eastern Conference Finals. After the Magic had made a 3-point shot with that left 1.3 seconds on the clock, the Pacers called timeout. After the timeout, they had the ball at half court. What Pacer received the ball and made a jump shot from the top of the charity stripe to win the game?
I'm going to say Reggie Miller, but we know it's not, and I have no idea.
If I remember correctly, he was very tall. I think he was a center.
Really?
I think so.
Okay.
Or
give me the name.
Rick Smith.
Oh yeah, Rick Smith was from Holland, I believe, or either Holland or Denmark, and he's about 6'11".
6'11", yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Well, he spells it R-I-K, so yeah. He must be.
That's right.
Okay, so we are still in the studio here with Kim Juarez. Let's see, what else we got here? Why don't you ask the next myth question?
Well, I was going to ask her about cleansing the body. This is something I have never done before, but I hear it's actually really good. And not for the colonoscopy kind of thing, which unfortunately a lot of people do. The colonoscopy being where they, you take the stuff and it just cleans your system out, and they go up, and check you out for any problems in your system. But getting rid of the toxins and cleaning out the system, how do you do that? You really literally have to flush your body out of everything? I mean,
lots of enemas. Go ahead.
Right. You do not.
Okay.
Juices and cleanses are really the buzzword right now, especially where we live here in Northern California. Our bodies are self-cleaning. They're self-regulating. If toxins were allowed to build up and we had to clean them out, we'd all be dead. Because that's what our liver does, our kidneys do, we lose things in our urine and our sweat.
Yeah, because there is good bacteria.
Yeah, right. Okay. So that's the liver's job, is to keep us clean. So we don't have to not eat for 3 days to get clean. Our body actually doesn't like it. It's used to having calories. It wants the food. I do tell people, if you'd like to try a juice fast or a cleanse, make sure there's some food going in. Most people choose to use fruit and vegetable juices. Again, I tell them just eat the fruit. It's not changing by putting it into juice form. You'll get more satisfaction if you eat it and more fiber.
But don't do a 2-week fast.
Don't. There's no need. And a lot of people, as much as I tell them not to do a 2-week or a 30-day, they say, but I really need it to jumpstart my weight loss. And what I find is they are good for about a week once they get off of it, and then they're just back to their old habits. So really take the time to change your habits slowly. There is no magic in juice cleanses or fasts.
And one thing relating to all this, I think, is somebody who's fairly athletic. Edward gets out and works out in the weight room, and you go on your walks or hikes or whatever. I do my hikes and my surfing. And Kim, I know you have all sorts of activities that you're involved with. It does make it a little easier to have a responsible diet when you're constantly exercising too, doesn't it?
It does. It fuels your body.
Yeah.
Back to the carbohydrates.
Yeah.
That's our number one fuel source. So if I went on a low-carb diet or a juice fast, I wouldn't have a very good workout. I wouldn't have the fuel to do it.
I keep telling myself food's overrated, but not enough for dinner, man. That's hard.
Food is not overrated. It's good. We like it. It's social. It's tranquilizing, which is part of the problem of the obesity problem here in America.
Oh, boy.
But we need it.
Okay, so eating fat makes you fat. Is that true?
That is not true. Too much of anything makes you fat, and not enough movement can put weight on. Back in the 90s, the low-carb craze, do you guys remember everything was fat-free, those snack walls, cookies that came out?
Yes.
I would have clients.
Food.
I had clients that say, Kim, I had a whole box of snack balls, but it's okay, they were fat-free. Calories, calorie.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Calories in, calories
And
out.
right,
Yeah.
And often in those foods, they take out the fat, they add more sugar or salt to make up for the
And
flavor.
does sugar turn to fat? I mean,
It doesn't, but too much
doesn't,
of
okay.
anything will be stored as fat.
Okay.
So I
Alright.
tell people fat, we want to focus on more of the plant-based fats. So things that come avocados, nuts, nut oils, olive oils, vegetable oils. Those are great. Eat less of the animal fats, butters, creams, ice creams. There's room for some of that in your diet. That's the fat we're seeing causing some problem here in America.
Like when I look at a bottle of olive oil,
Mhm.
it looks like it's got a lot of calories.
It does 9 calories per gram for fats,
Wow.
whether it's butter or olive oil.
Okay. About the same then, huh?
They're exactly
It
the same,
is-
but
it's
one
butter-
is saturated.
Butter
Okay.
tastes a lot better to me than olive oil.
I
Okay,
got used
piece
to
of
olive
bread.
oil, you know?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
You know, when I'm teaching kids, this is a great way to remember it. I have a bottle of olive oil and a stick of butter, and I said these are both fat. They have the same amount of calories. They both taste very good. But olive oil, see how it's liquid? It's liquid in your body. The butter is solid. It becomes solid in your body over time. Every time you eat it, it's not
Interesting.
So they
sticky.
say something on your lips, a week on your hips,
Yeah, that's
on your
right.
hips or something.
Yeah.
forever in your arteries.
Okay,
Yeah.
so gluten free is another big.
Yes,
big
that's
thing.
another big one.
But-
Which I'm feeling like it might be dying out a little bit. I don't know about you guys.
Well, is
but
it more a health thing or is it more? Well, actually, we are talking nutrition because I know a lot of people. Oh, I'm gluten free. I get a little allergies.
Yeah, that's an allergy thing that for some people, isn't it? They can't handle the
For
gluten.
about 1% of the population,
Really?
they truly have a disease called celiac disease, and they cannot eat gluten. It causes adverse side
Yeah, I was
effects.
gonna say that. What the last?
rest of the people?
last 50 years,
I
right? We
know.
all were eating all the stuff
Yeah.
that had gluten in
So
it.
why not? You
Yeah.
still see this label. I mean, it's not that big a deal then, you're saying.
It's not. A lot of people say, "Oh, I just feel so much better not having gluten." I said, "Well, what were you eating before?" And cookies and muffins and chips.
Yeah.
You know, so I said, "Well, let's look at the foods, not the gluten." So that's why I say you have to dissect things a little
God.
bit further.
How do we get such a crazy diet in this country? I mean, seriously.
Because it's as you said, we're all looking for that magic pill
Yeah,
and trying to be so
yeah.
healthy.
Yeah.
I know, it just gives food a bad rap.
It's
And
too bad.
People don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
They go look on the internet, they listen to a radio show, they read a book, they watch the movie stars, and they don't know who to follow. And that's the point I'd like to tell your listeners is, if they're looking for good nutrition help and education, talk to a nutritionist that actually has at least one degree in the science of nutrition. There's a lot of weekend certification courses. People say they're passionate about food, so now they're a nutritionist. There's an important science behind the food that is missed in a lot of.
And make sure they don't weigh 350 pounds if they're 5'2". That's a good start.
I heard
That
something.
is a good start.
Kim, I heard something really disturbing. My wife said she read this in the paper, and I can't believe it, but she said, "Oh no, I saw this. The average American woman is 5'2" and weighs 170 pounds. I can't believe
but
that.
you get one person who weighs 800.
No.
And is it the median or the median?
No,
you know?
but I can't
You
believe
know
that.
what, Bruce? It's probably correct.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
wow.
That's
We
terrible.
don't see it because of where we live, but if you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
stepped outside,
Nebraska. Or,
Yeah.
Oh my
right.
God, that's so unhealthy.
it's really unhealthy. And
Ugh.
we're talking about heart disease this month because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
February is National Heart Disease Awareness Month, and it's Go Red for women. 1 in 3 women will die of heart disease, and it's the #1 killer of women compared to all cancers combined.
Wow.
And it affects all ages. It's not just old women anymore. I've heard of 20-year-olds having heart attacks.
Yeah.
So it really needs to be addressed. It's so preventable
Mm.
that I think that's what people need to be focusing on.
Well, okay, talk about eggs because
Uh-huh.
when I look at the label, they have they'll say like 70% cholesterol in one egg, but
Right.
there's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol, and then I mean, here I am talking as though I'm an
That's
expert on
okay.
here, but isn't it true that it's like for people who don't have cholesterol problems because you're being active and all that stuff that blocks your arteries is not blocking it because you're being active and doing other things.
Right.
How much do eggs really affect it?
Eggs are fine, even for someone with high cholesterol.
Okay.
I wouldn't say eat them every day, 5 a day, but maybe 3 times a week. What I focus more on is what are you having with the eggs? Are you having whole wheat toast and some fresh fruit to get some fiber to help flush that cholesterol out? Eggs did get a bad rap. I can't remember when that was, the late 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
But they're really, the yolk is where the fat is. So if you are watching your saturated fat intake, I tell people to do 2 whites to 1 yolk.
You know what I love to do is I take 2 eggs and mix them in with the pancake mix and mix some fruit in there, just a little bit of honey for sweetness, and then I make these pancakes, and my daughter loves them, and I love them. I think, yeah,
That's a good,
Very
that's a
good.
good
yeah.
idea.
And, or you know, sometimes you can vary it, put some pineapple in
What
there.
time is breakfast tomorrow?
Use buckwheat flour.
Yeah,
You can even
yeah.
more whole grain.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Yeah, oh,
Okay.
I love pancakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more of a French toast man, but boy, I tell you, that syrup, that's the killer.
Oh,
It's
That's
so
that sugar.
sugary.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I
so
know.
good though, but you have to watch it.
Here's the trick: you got to put peanut butter on instead of butter,
Really?
and then drizzle some syrup. That's what I do.
Peanut butter.
Because
Yeah.
Wow.
it's not saturated.
Oh,
Okay, so
yeah.
that's the thing. I love like almond butter.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but again, it seems like it's too easy to get 300-400 calories in a real.
But it's satisfying at least.
Yeah.
So put it on something that doesn't have a lot of calories, like some celery or apple
Ice cream.
pieces.
Donuts.
Is
Some
almond butter
fat
better?
with your fat.
I know.
Kim, is almond butter better than peanut butter? Or are they about the
They're
same?
about the same.
Okay, I thought
Yeah.
so.
Again,
Just
I
a little different
prefer
flavor.
natural butters, not Skippy, which is so good. We call it peanut butter frosting at my
Well,
house.
okay, so when you see the stuff that where it separates,
Yeah.
and yet, I mean,
And they're such a bummer because you have to stir them.
but I mean, is that much better for you?
They are. Because if you read the ingredients, it's just peanuts and salt. They're just ground up peanuts. If you read the label on a Skippy or some of the other processed peanut butter
Yeah.
products, they're going to have some added ingredients.
So when we go to a Whole Foods type of place, and you can go ahead and grind your own,
Mhm.
I mean,
That's the best possible
really the
scenario.
best way.
Yeah.
Probably cheaper to do it that way too.
I'm so lucky. My wife will not buy anything unless it's labeled organic. Now I know sometimes some people take that and stretch that a little bit, don't they, with the organic label? How do they get
They
away
do.
with that?
And your wife, I'm sure you guys are smart eaters,
Yeah.
but some people will buy a box of Oreos at a Whole Foods type store that says organic and think it's
Organic?
okay to eat the whole box. It's like they're still cookies.
Yeah.
They were probably made in an organic facility
Yeah.
with organic products, but it can be stretched a lot.
So when you're looking at the back, I mean, I again, one of these generic things, you look at the back of a box, and if it's got 50 different ingredients in it, it's not going to be as good as
Right,
it's,
right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think the
that's
best saying is eat how your grandparents ate or great grandparents. There
right.
were
They ate live chickens.
they did. There weren't all these added ingredients, and that's part of our problem.
You're related to The Geek? Never heard that story, right? You know The Geek? The famous movie with Tyrone, I'm showing my age. Famous movie when I was, before I was born even. Tyrone Power plays a guy who is hired by the local carnival that's coming through town to bite these chickens off of these heads. And he's known as The Geek. And it's kind of a freaky thing, and that's the lowest of the low, and I guess he graduates from that to become like the top performer in the circus, but then along the way he stumbles and falls and has all sorts of bad things happen. He goes back to being the geek at the end.
They had
It's like-
movies when you
Wow.
were a kid?
Yeah, back in the
So my kids always say, "Did you have that in the olden days?"
Tyrone
Yeah.
Power, yeah.
Yeah.
Tyrone Power, yeah, he was quite the character. It's a good movie, The Geek.
The Geek. I gotta look that one up. So Kim, with the audiences out there going, how do we get a hold of this lady? Because she has some good information, especially since she says, I can have ice cream once in a while.
Yeah, I like
Just
that.
not with peanut
Yeah.
butter on it.
Oh, jeez, you ruined my day.
I
Maybe
know.
once, pre-birthday. You can reach me at teamlola.com or Kim Juarez on LinkedIn.
How did you get the Lola part?
Lola stands for Living Our Lives Actively.
Oh, like that.
Yes, and we support women and girls to live their lives actively and eat a healthy diet. It's also my youngest daughter's name. We
That's
took it
Sweet.
from there.
How old is your youngest daughter?
She's turning 10 the date of the show.
Really?
Yep.
Aw,
She's the same age as my daughter. My daughter's turning 10 in 2 months.
Oh,
Very
Sweet.
sweet.
yeah, it's a great age.
It
Okay,
is.
we're going to cut to our third commercial break. Thanks again, Kim, for
Thank
joining us. NBA game-winning shots. The 1998 NBA Finals pitted the Chicago Bulls against the Utah Jazz. Going into Game 6, the Bulls led the series 3-2. Michael Jordan hit a game-winning shot that left 5.4 seconds left on the game clock. Before pulling up and taking the eventual game-winning shot, Jordan drove and seemed to push what Jazz defended. Seemed to push and
Foul.
who did he push?
Who was the guy he
Who was the guy he okay.
possibly
seemed
fouled?
to
Yeah,
push
yeah.
what Jazz defender?
There you go.
The forward. Okay. All right. We'll try that again when we come back. All right. Stay with us. We'll have some closing comments on Sports Econ 101. Boy, it's funny. I write.
Where do
I
you get
type
these
this.
questions?
I go to like funtrivia.com and pick some.
The fun thing about sports is you can find a lot of stuff on your own, or if you are like Edward or me, who are just fanatics, you just can come up with it on your own sometimes.
Yeah. I'm always impressed how much you guys just know.
Well, that's hard. With me, I mean, this is all I've been. It's not all I've been doing. It's been my main source of, since I was 20, and even when I was 17, 18, I was watching the games and going to the game. I was telling my buddy today, as soon as I got my driver's license, I went right to Candlestick Park, Oakland Coliseum, take my friends with me, buy a ticket, sit in the stands with my tape recorder, practice play-by-play.
Oh my gosh, you did?
Oh, yeah. When I got to college, I'd already had 3 years' experience doing that, so I was able to get to do on the campus station. I did the basketball and the hockey for 3 years each. That was a blast.
Play-by-play?
Yeah.
And
we did about 60 games a year, which was a lot of fun. That was a big part of my experience in college.
That is
travel on the road.
Oh, how fun for you.
Yeah, travel with the teams, so it was great.
I could do baseball play-by-play, but all the other ones,
Well, the thing about baseball, you got to tell stories. That's the thing. You got to really be in all the trivia.
Fill in and know when to be quiet when a home run, let the audience go.
Exactly.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
All right. Clues and comments now. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan.
Yes, sir.
When we cut to the final commercial break, we asked this trivia question. The 1998 NBA Finals pitted the Chicago Bulls against the Utah Jazz. Going into Game 6, the Bulls led the series 3-2. Michael Jordan hit a game-winning shot that left 5.4 seconds left on the game clock. Before pulling up and taking the eventual game-winning shot, Jordan drove and seemed to push what Jazz defender forward?
Well, the two most prominent Jazz players at that time, who played a long time, John Stockton and Karl Malone, it might have been one of them, but I get the feeling it was somebody else.
It was somebody else.
Yeah, you got me.
Byron Russell.
I never would have guessed
Never
that.
would have guessed that.
Now, Byron Russell was a tough dude. He was about 6'3", 6'4", about 230 pounds.
Really?
Felt like a linebacker, yeah. And he played for about 4 or 5 years. Pretty good player.
Could he dunk?
Oh, almost every player in the NBA can dunk. Almost every. Even Muggsy Bogues, who was 5'5", I think, might have dunked one time.
Did he?
He might have.
I wasn't sure about Muggsy, but I
The
know
little
that-
guys, it's amazing. You'd be
That's
surprised.
Spud Webb did.
You would be surprised.
Yeah.
The little guys have incredible springs. Some of the taller guys, not so much. I only was able to dunk twice in my life just practicing, and I'm 6'6". But I can't jump.
Well, also doing the basketball. I mean, those things are big.
I
If you
know.
can't palm it,
Yeah.
could you palm it?
Yes, I could palm it. Yes,
Really? Okay.
Not very well. I don't have my hands are big, but they're not that big.
Okay.
Yeah, not very well.
Yeah, I could do a baseball.
Or softball.
Or softball.
There you go.
Well, Kim Juarez from talking about nutrition. Thank you very much
Thanks for having
joining
me.
us.
Good stuff,
Okay.
Kim.
Yeah, very good stuff. I'm gonna go home and have some ice cream.
With peanut butter.
With peanut butter, exactly. Okay.
That's right.
Thoughts for the day. Sometimes a player's greatest challenge is coming to grips with his role on the team. Scottie Pippen said that. And the Knicks are so bad that I was in New York and someone gave me 2 tickets. I left them on my dashboard, and when I returned to my car, someone broke in, left me 2 more tickets. All right,
That's the truth. They are so bad.
They're pretty bad.
Oh.
Okay, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be we're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and giving away more free vacations for answering sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week. So long.
All right.
Yeah. Okay, that was
Good.
Oh, let me show you this.